Okay, so without further ado, let's get the first speaker up for the day today. Does it matter that we're a little bit early, Manos? No, you can fill an extra 10 minutes? What a silly thing for me to say.
Oh, yes, he could, ladies and gentlemen.
Rightio, so, ladies and gentlemen, I will welcome the first speaker of the day today, right? So, how do you do justice to someone who's a visionary in the real estate space? He's an REB nominated 4 times now, Thought Leader of the Year. Not to mention a recent winner of the REB Training and Educational Program of the Year 2024. Oh, thank you. He's a forward thinker, an author, a pioneer in balancing the ledger in favour of the salesperson. It's a bit controversial, perhaps years before industry acceptance. I think so. Yet in all the chaos, he always finds the positive. There is no better way to start our day today than to bridge the gap between knowing and doing. Welcome, the architect of Black Salt 2024, Manos Findikakis. Thank you.
And from myself, can I just say thank you for making the time and thank you for being part of the movement we're calling Black Salt. Now, a little bit about my history. Who's seen me speak before? Yeah, half the room. Yeah, very good. I've got a story to share with you, Julie. So a little bit of our journey, a little bit of our story before we get stuck into it. So my real estate career started with a phone call April the 13th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it started with a phone call from Maria. And she said, honey, we've bought a real estate business. It was at the time, was to do with a bet. I obviously lost the bet. Obviously, happy wife, happy life. Obviously, as Arthur, who's also our business partner, our best man, our cousin by marriage and best friend and our business partner, he said to me at our wedding as best man, he said, Manos, you'll always wear the pants in the family. Maria is always going to choose the colour. Thank you, sweetheart. So it was a sliding door moment. And I can go into detail because I actually came into it absolutely kicking and screaming. I did not, at the age of 39, did not want to be a real estate agent. So it was obviously 21 years ago. And we came into it and I was challenged when I first got into real estate because I didn't know what to do. Plus, I used to come to work in a denim suit because I promised myself I wouldn't be go to a vendor's home, wouldn't be open for inspections, and that's another story. But what we uncovered and what we discovered, and coming into an environment that we had no guidance, that we mortgaged the house, put everything on the line, we had to make it succeed. We had to make it work because we put everything on the line. We technically burnt the bridge unwillingly. Now, I want you to imagine, at the time I was running a hospitality business. We had 200 staff in partnership with Arthur and and my brothers. And the staff were aged between the ages of 15 to 18 years of age. And you can imagine the hormone levels we had to deal with. And we came into real estate, and that certainly hasn't changed either. But in hospitality, we had a process, whereas we came into real estate and it was totally ad hoc. It was organised chaos. And it was such a challenge. I remember the first time Maria brought, and especially when you come into it and we've opened up an office, and Maria sells her first house and she presents me with the deposit. It was a cheque. And she goes, honey, you've got to put that into the bank account. I said, great, we can pay some bills with it, we can do this, we can do that. She goes, no, I think we need to put it into a trust account. And I said, what's a trust account? So this is our entrance. So I'm here up on stage to let you know that no matter where you are in your career, anything is possible. So to fast forward the story, we kept that business for 3 years. It's part of a franchise, 30 months to be exact. The first 6 months of the business, we went on a deep dive and a steep learning curve to work out everything that we needed to know about real estate. And what I found out is that who is the best person to learn from? Other agents. Agents in the field training agents in the field. And it actually blew me away for the first 6 months of our industry of how many people were so willing to give of their time, their expertise, their secrets, the whole lot. And I was blown away. I'm thinking, some of these are my direct competitors. And they're happy to show me their listing presentation. They're happy to share their dialogue. They're happy to show all the tools that they needed that made them successful. I remember one time Maria coming to me, and she was in real estate 1 year before we opened up our office. And she said to me, "Honey, I'm going to a training session. It's with this guy called James Tostovan. It's for 2 hours at the Mornington Club, or the Peninsula Club. Correct me if I'm wrong. Attention to detail." And she said to me, "It's $170. I fell over. I said, "What? 2 hours, $170. I said, there I was slaving behind the fryers, cooking fish and chips, you know. And I'm thinking, $170, and it gets better. She goes, "There's about 50 of them in the room. There's about 50 people attending." I quickly did the maths. I said, "What?" And I'll make a note for next time. I've kept those printouts that Maria brought home from those 2 hours of training with James Tostovan. And I wish I had, because we photocopied them and shared them, and that those printouts are still as valuable today as they were 21 years ago. So it's interesting how the fundamentals of real estate are passed on from agent to agent. Anyway, cut a long story short. 6 months in, learnt as much as we possibly could, kept the business for 30 months. It was myself and Maria. We morphed into what is classically called now an EBU, Director's EBU. We had one sales agent. We brought Arthur into the business. Once we left the hospitality business, we really missed Arthur. I said, 6 months into it, I said, "Arthur, I reckon you'll be really good at real estate. Why don't you come and join us?" And he did. And then we had one other staff member. So it was a really boutique office on the Mornington Peninsula, Frankston, for everyone that knows. And we just fluked it, but we just did the right things. And we ended up selling 530 homes in 30 months. So Maria and I were selling 120 homes together, thinking it's normal, carrying 35 to 40 listings at any one time, just doing our thing. And it was interesting how we just learnt the rules of the game and played the game. And then we took a year off. We said, we can do a few changes, took a year off. Then we started Evie Real Estate, 2006 November. And within our first year, we clocked over 600 homes in our first year from a cold start. In our second year, we did 4.5 million in GCI. For business owners, that was pretty big. But we just replicated the formula. There was no magic dust. There was no magic bullet. It was a lot of hard work. And I'm not saying it's been easy. There's been some tough times in the last 21 years. Tough times where you question whether you should be doing it or not. But you just keep going. Anyway, so we fast forward. And of course, we've grown a network now, agents agency. In the last 100 days, and I'm not sharing these numbers to boast, not to impress you, but to impress upon you. That's saying, in the last 100 days, we've sold 1,000 homes with $1 billion in sales. Using these tools. Thank you. So, the challenge is this. Bridging the gap between knowing and doing. Because at the end of the day, we're going to be coming to these conferences. Really, what you learn today is enough for you to take your career to any level you want. Any level. And all you have to look around is our industry that shares those stories. There's one thing about real estate agents, we like to put our hand up and go, "Hey, just did 100 sales, just cracked $1 million," all that sort of stuff. That's okay. Ego is important in real estate. It is. The right ego. So it's bridging the gap between knowing what to do and actually doing. Because I don't think anyone leaves a conference not knowing what to do. but bridging that gap and actually implementation. Because the reality is, we all have access to the same ingredients. No one in this room has more or less ingredients. Who's got access to the biggest database of buyers in this room right now? Who's a real estate agent in the room? So your hand should go up. What's the biggest database of buyers in Australia? Realestate.com. Mrs. Vendor, I have access to the biggest database of buyers in Australia. It's called realestate.com. Yes, I've got some buyers just like everyone else has. But at the end of the day, I call them the underbidders because I've also got listings that they're not prepared to pay the price that they're willing to pay. So there's dialogue that you can use around that. So be mindful of the ingredients. Hey, I remember back at the Beach Street days, MPRE Beach Street was our office. And we came to the end of the month. It was the 30th of the month. And we're on donuts. How does that sit with everyone, being on donuts at the end of a particular month? Not really good, especially when you're running an office and you know it's going to be pretty negative. Do you know what I mean? And everyone knows me. I like to know I'm in profit. And I like to know that I'm in profit by the midway of the month because then it's dollar for dollar. And every sales agent should do that exercise as well. So I want you to think, we're at the end of the month. This is back in the day, there was not that much technology, right, in our first year. So 20 years ago. And thank you, Maria. She can read me, which is great. So thank you. That's awesome. Now, I've got to say, I'm not a public speaker, and I need to share this with you. Who in the room was here when I did my very first talk? Mrs. Julie Ormston. I'm pretty sure you asked me out on a date that day as well. And this is really important to understand. So 2003 got into real estate. 2010 was the first time I was invited, and it was in a similar room to this size, 200 leadership, and people wanted to share the story about how we were able to do 1,000 sales in a year and so forth. And I was chuffed and honoured. But what's the saying about public speaking? It's only second to dying. It's more fearful than dying, whatever it is. Well, that was me. I remember practicing for 3 months to get up on stage for it was the Lee Woodward Complete Leader Conference. I was absolutely frigging shitting myself, absolutely packing myself. And I remember practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing with Maria. And I was just fumbling, just totally fumbling it. And I remember the 1 week before the event, I got some of the team. I think, Michael, were you? A few of our team were upstairs at the Frankston office, and I did a dummy run. It is important, the story, not just to share the story, to do a dummy run. And I totally screwed it. I had Excel spreadsheets up there. I was doing formulas. I was boring them to tears, thinking. Arthur turned around to Maria and goes, "We're effed." And I'm thinking, for crying out loud, and I thought to myself, okay, well, I better change it up. So I changed it up. Anyway, mate, I never slept. I never did anything. I was shitting myself. I was just, sweating. I was a mess. Maria, at the end of it, and she was so good. Maria was a natural, right? I was blessed. Maria was a natural real estate agent. She was natural at so many things. And she could do my talk because I'd practiced it so much. And she got up there. I said, maybe you should do it. Do you know what I mean? You're that good. Anyway. Breaking your comfort zone is so important because from there, and I encourage everyone, if you've got a fear of speaking, put yourself in your uncomfortable zone and break through. It's so important. And I'm so excited for the panels and the people. And we've interviewed so many speakers who haven't spoken before and they're nervous and they're this and that. I'm still nervous today. And I've been doing it for almost, 15 years now. So it doesn't matter, but you've got to break through your comfort zone to get to the other side. Anyway, away from the segue. Anyway, going back to the donut day, the donut month. So back then, we were carrying a few listings. I said, what do we do? It was a Friday, I remember it. I said, we've got to make some sales. So what do? You get on the phone and you start making some calls. And say, Mrs., all the buyers. Back then we had the Nokias and we were doing the SMSs going, A was, what was, A was 1 and B, C, all that sort of stuff. And what do we do today? Today we could do this. Sit on the couch, watch TV. All right, put our legs up. Hang on a sec, we've got to do it right. Access to the same ingredients. Put our legs up. I really like this couch, Maria. So get onto our phone, go to our Voltare app. Who's on Voltare? You should be. MRI. It's the best app. Look and say, okay, I have had about 3 or 4 vendors that need some love, and they've gone through some open. We know we've gone through some open for inspections with some buyers, but we haven't had offers on them, yeah? Because this is what we did that day. I better get up. What we did that day is we started making phone calls. What you can do now is go on the couch, go onto your Voltare app, add a little SMS, send it to your buyers, add a props link with a make an offer button, send and say, hi, I know you showed interest in the property. We're 3 weeks into the market, into the campaign now, and the vendor is open to taking offers. And back then we did it manually over the phone, and we sold about 3 or 4 properties by the end of the day. Now you can do it manually, send out a make an offer button through props, and you'll be drinking your glass of wine, and you hear the bing bing, an offer comes through. George, am I right or wrong? 100%. So we have got all the ingredients. We've all got the same ingredients, but it's how we use them that's important. Okay, so this is the challenge with real estate as I see it. We live in a world of distraction. And in real estate, often it's the next shiny toy. We're hoping the next shiny toy stops us from doing the work. And plus the social distraction that we have through social media. We're busy doing low-value activities to avoid the hard work, instead of engaging with someone like Wingman to have a virtual assistant to help you do the stuff so you can focus on doing the right things. Does that make sense? And of course, many agents can't handle the freedom. And this is the big one. It's so easy to reschedule the important work than actually doing the work. And in my 21 years on this journey, that's what separates those that achieve their goals and desires and those that don't. Is the ones that do achieve, they can handle the freedom. The ones that don't are struggling with the freedom. And it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because who believes we're in the friggin' best industry in the world? Like, seriously. Seriously, it is. So, the whole objective is to start learning the rules of the game, play better than anyone else, and always play with the end in mind. And I'm so excited for tomorrow's leadership because we're talking about the end in mind. Is your business Alan Bond ready? And I won't spoil it, but it's playing with the end in mind. Okay? So turn to the person next to you and say what you know so far. What is it that you want to get out of today? But more importantly, what is it you want out of your career? What is it that you want? What's your end game? Just quickly, just 30 seconds. What is it you want? It's obviously there's a lot. Okay. So, where are we going? So the question is, how hard is it to do it? How hard is it to put all the pieces together? How difficult is it for us to find out what we need to do to achieve our goals? Is it hard? No. And I want you to remember this statement. There are footsteps on the moon. Really think about it. There are footsteps on the moon. We're not building a NASA shuttle or a Apollo mission to get man onto the moon. We're here to list and sell real estate. So it's not that hard. So we're going to go through a lot of things today, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, because sometimes we walk away from these sessions feeling totally overwhelmed, thinking, where do I start? And I'm really hoping that's where the sales agent business plan and sales framework is going to help you today. And it can't be done in a day. And hence why we've got the 12-month membership program. Okay, we're going to take it in small steps. And people are at different levels of their careers, different stages. Some people have just come into it. Some people are 5 years in. Some people, veterans like ourselves, are over 10 years. So remember that it just takes some time, but it needs some strategy. So the whole aim is to bulletproof your business, to get it on autopilot, to accelerate. Speed is the new currency. There is no question. And of course, to dominate your marketplace. That's what the goal is. So when we start, we've got to set the stage. We need to set the stage. Where do we begin? We've got to start with why. And I have a saying that everything falls into place when you truly know what you want. And that's part of the Live It Up conference as well. The Live It Up conference is to find out, it's health and well-being, but it's more to find out our why as well. Nigel, that we're in Crete, we had our Live It Up conference in Crete last year. And Nigel and his beautiful wife, Paula, joined us. And it was a real challenge uncovering, I don't know what my why. I don't know what my why is. Okay? So I challenge everyone, if you don't know what your why is, use the reverse bucket list strategy to inspire you. This is a really good way of doing it. Sometimes thinking forward is just a little bit too much of a challenge. But if we use who knows what the reverse bucket list strategy is? Yep, well, there's obviously a few of our team. Okay, so just to share, the reverse bucket list is, people would know what the bucket list is, and we all say, I think, Arthur, you said you're going to go skydiving when you go to Vegas. That's definitely not on my bucket list, but congratulations. I wish you all the best and safe. And I remember your shares in AA. Steph, where are you, Steph? Okay, so we all know about bucket lists. We always put our goals, our dreams, and whether it's health, well-being, relationships, financial, toys, whatever it is. But the reverse bucket list, if you go back, you'll be inspired of what excites you, of what made you happy, what fulfilled you, what inspired you. And the reverse bucket list is something that we should all use when the chips are down, when you're going through the tough times. Because sometimes we just need that inspiration to look back and say, shit, I went through this tough time and I made it. I actually got through it. So I encourage everyone to create their own reverse bucket list and just keep it visible and reference it when you need to inspire you to keep moving forward and to get you to your why. And your why will often change, and there's no right or wrong, but everyone's why is different, but you need to know what it is. And that's why I always say everything falls into place when you truly know what you want. Everything falls into place from a financial point of view when you become financially independent. And that's a sliding door moment. Because when you reach that point, it's a choice. It's not because you have to. It's a choice because you want to. And there's lots of people in this room that don't have to work. Lots and lots of people. But they choose to come to work. If we call real estate work, I don't call real estate work, it's a lifestyle choice. It's work and play all together, and we have so much fun. So start with why. One of the most important things, what is the financial goal? What is financial literacy and discipline? Make sound financial choices that align with your objectives and values. I'll share a book at the end of my presentation, Morgan Housel, the Psychology of Money. Absolutely incredible. Now, what is your financial goal? It needs to be concrete. It can't be just, I just want to make $1 million. Okay, well, what does it actually mean to you? What does it mean after tax? How much tax do you have to... You know what the biggest challenge is with most real estate agents when they do really, really well? Is handling the tax bill at the next financial year. Because many agents spend their tax and then they're trying to play catch up. And that's called financial literacy, financial discipline. So you need to be aware of that so you don't fall into that trap when you get there. And one thing, and I should have mentioned it, bridging the gap between knowing and doing. There's a new phenomena in real estate, and you watch what happens over the next 5 years. It will be, the next 5 years, you'll see absolute brand new people. There's already been a few who come into the industry absolutely brand new, and they'll be writing $1 million before the end of the year. From brand new, zero experience. Because why? They have access to the same ingredients, and they come to workshops, and there's so much information that they can find, steep learning curves, okay? So what is the financial goal? Next, big one. Big one. Real estate sales is simple, however, it's an inside job. How much do you want it? How emotionally equipped are you and or willing to become? Will you build the stamina and resilience to see you through the tough times? What price are you willing to pay? Turn to the person next to you and just say, what price are you willing to pay? What price are you willing to pay? And it's not a all in and it's going to accumulate. What's your level? What are you prepared to do? Oh, thanks, baby. Okay. And I bet you any money, if you went to another table and spoke to someone else, their why is going to be totally different to the person you just spoke to. Yes? It's going to be totally different. And the price you're willing to pay, and of course, people's financial goals. Okay, moving forward. So, these are my 10 steps to set up your sales agent business plan and the sales framework. These are 10 fundamentals, I call them. And of course, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Right, apprentice, tradesperson, or practice. I want you to turn to page 2021 of the workbook. Thanks, mate. So we've got a column. So there's 3 stages to growth. We call it the apprentice stage, the tradesperson, the real estate practice. Now, if you're in the apprentice stage, it may be your first year, maybe your second year, we call it the apprentice stage. Normally, you're a solo operator. Some people are in the apprentice stage for so many years in their real estate career. It's like Groundhog Year. They haven't broken the fundamentals, right? So if you're in the apprentice stage, you're usually doing, you're a team of 1, you're riding up to about 250 kg CI. you're normally transacting between 12 to 18 sales. And there's a couple of challenges that people have in that stage. Number one is belief and coachability. Number two is getting systemised. As I said, most people 1 to 2 years, which is normal, and 85% of our industry is at that level. It's a big number, okay? So it's groundhog gig for some people. And then we're moving towards what we call the momentum point, and we move into the tradesperson, which is normally 2 people, a lead sales agent, and they're putting on a salesperson or assistant. And if you see an agent that's always changing assistants, just remember there's one common denominator: the sales agent, the lead agent. So it's sometimes the challenge there is they bring people in and it's organised chaos. Well, it's actually not even organised chaos. What am I talking about? It's actually chaos. So come into my world of chaos, and then they're revolving. And it's a real challenge for some people to be working with an assistant. And then, of course, the be-all, end-all, which I believe is the real estate practice, where you're building a solid team. This is where you call the super teams, the $1 million plus agents, and they do it really, really well. And there's some fundamentals when you're at that stage. It's about profitability, it's about mindset, and it's about leading a team and legacy. So there's a couple of things there. And we'll go, in our membership program, we'll go into depth. So in the 2-hour Zooms that Arthur was talking about, we'll go into depth and also bring in agents who are actually in these different levels, and they'll share their story and what's working and what isn't and how to break through. The most important part is to go from apprentice through to tradesperson at the very least, because you get some momentum point. Momentum point is that point, especially when you're new to real estate, when you walk into an office and you're with a fellow colleague, and that fellow colleague is getting all the leads just ringing in. It's because more people know of them than what they know of people, right? The hustle has slowed down for them because they've become what we call an attraction agent, and should be everyone's goal. Okay, so that's number one, is finding out the start line for you, where you are, apprentice, tradesperson, or practice. Turn to the person next to you, 10 seconds. Where do you fit in this 3? Apprentice, tradesperson, or practice? Show of hand, who believes they're apprentice? Yep, great. Apprentice. There's no right or wrong, but you need to know. Who's a tradesperson? Show of hand, who believes they're a tradesperson? Yeah, we've got a couple of tradespeople in the room. Who's at the practice stage? Come on, there you go, ones, let's go. Yeah, give it up. That's a round of applause. That's seriously. It's a special place to get to, practice. Okay, the next thing, know your numbers. Numbers help us predict the future. Now, I won't have time to bring up my Excel spreadsheets. I probably would have walked off. Sorry. That's in the second. That's in the second webinar, right? And probably 2 people will turn up. We'll go through the Excel spreadsheets and your business plan and actually work out the numbers. But I'm going to give you some numbers to make it really easy for everyone to get to. So know your numbers. Numbers help us predict the future. Key performance indicators, and this is a classic. I remember going to our first, I don't know what it was, training in real estate, and there was a speaker up there, and he goes, the KPIs. And I'm looking at everyone, and they all understood what KPIs were, and I went, what does KPI stand for? What's a KPI, right? This is how green we came into the industry. Key performance indicators. Trust me, once you know these, and you only have to do it once. You only have to bring out the Excel spreadsheet maybe once or twice, right? Once you know your numbers, magic happens. Magic happens. So this conference isn't about converting you all into Excel wizards. It's about knowing a few key numbers, and I'm going to help you with that in a moment. Okay, next one, the art and science of lead generation. We don't have a lead generation challenge in this industry. We have a lead follow-up challenge. And it's really hard for some people to understand that. Because they go, well, I just want a listing. I just want a listing. Why aren't they coming to me? I'm doing all this work and there's no leads coming through. And there's an art to that. And we've had some great case studies to demonstrate that if you follow the process, that most people, if they follow it to the nth degree, right? There's always going to be the unicorn, but you follow it to the nth degree. I've yet to see someone not achieve a 20 to 25% market share in a 12-month process from a cold start when they understand the art and science of lead generation. It really is that powerful. And that's probably one of my favourite sessions. We'll go through a little bit in the next 35 minutes. Okay, dollar productive hours. I saw this by Mario, that's it, San Francisco. I'll just say San Francisco. Mario at ARIC. Who actually saw him at ARIC? Yeah. I walked away from that session and I went, boom, there's a number I didn't know. Dollar productive hours. $10 productive hours, you're doing 500,000 GCI. $20 productive hours a week, you're doing $1 million in GCI. $30 productive hours, and you're doing 1.5 million GCI. And it's just incredible. And dollar productive hours are these: appraisals, buyer work, face-to-face vendor meetings, and your home opens, and a cold call, calling. So those interactions that's getting you to face-to-face appointments. If you're doing 10, 20, $30 productive hours on average per week, I can almost guarantee you, and I remember doing a business planning session with some of the team, and we just said, get your diaries out, let's just count it all up. And where's our Sydney team? Between 5 to 10% of accuracy we got within. So it is phenomenal when you measure that. And again, we go through that in the workbook. Ideal day, week, month, quarter. Yeah, I'm not a really big one on this. Hence why I call it organised chaos or simply chaos. I think we live in a world in real estate when you do really well, organised chaos. Because it is chaos. There's no two ways. We're on call. We can be as structured as we want to. I haven't seen anyone be to the nth degree structured. I think we need to chunk out our days with activities and make sure that we do those activities that we said that we're going to do and the timing of it. Whether you send out an email blast in the morning or in the afternoon doesn't really make that much difference as long as it gets done on a particular date, as an example, and you're prospecting and so forth. So I embrace organised chaos, and that's how I have always worked. Database, it's a driving force behind a daily influx of opportunities, which makes you cross over to the momentum point. But it's not database. It's called client engagement. And I know there's been talk about having client for life aspects and all that sort of stuff. And I'd hate to think if I was in front of a seller and we sold their property, I said, "You're going to be my client for life." If they look back at me, I don't know the reaction I would get. They'll be a little bit horrified, I think. So I think we need to change our terminology and say it's client engagement. And when we change our terminology, client engagement, it's actually an action. It's a doing. Because client engagement means you actually have got to do something. They're not a client for life just because you sold their home. You've got to be client engagement through the rest of the period. Big difference. Does that make sense? What's a fantastic shout out? Name one aspect of a client engagement strategy. Social media. I was probably thinking more direct. Anniversary calls. Anniversary calls should be the number one. Anniversary calls. I want you to think like this. And when should you be making these calls? And again, I learnt this when we paid $2,000 to James Tossovin to go see one of his coaching. Fell off my chair, but anyway, that's okay. 2 hours of, remember when James was offering the coaching sessions? Come and pay me $2,000. You can have up to 4 people in the room for 2 hours and you can watch me do prospecting. I'm thinking, okay, okay, let's go. Anyway, I got another 3 people and we all spent $500 each. I thought that's worth it. And we walked into his office, and if you've ever been to James' office, it's quite spacious, 2 desks. His desk doesn't have a computer, his assistant has the computer. And he had a call sheet, and it looked exactly like this, and it had all these contacts on it. And I remember it was about 10 o'clock in the morning, it was a 10 to 12 session. And he said, the first thing he said, Manos, really nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Just let you know, this is not a training session. You're here to watch me prospect. And I went, oh, okay, $2,000, just, yeah, is it a good investment? Best investment I've ever spent. And the best investment of my time. Because I understood then, when he was fist pumping, when he was leaving voicemails on his calls. He was leaving voicemails. And he was fist pumping. And I said, how come you're fist pumping? You actually didn't connect with anyone. He goes, because they're going to listen. Who wants to talk to a real estate agent? Who wants to talk to a real estate agent? Especially if it's not a hot buyer, hot vendor. There's no interest. 97% of the people we talk to are not interested in listing and selling their property right now. So we're disturbing them. But the anniversary call is a simple one. Congratulations, Maria. It's been 2 years since you bought the property. I hope you're loving it as much as you did when you first bought it. Can you believe it? You got it for a song and you thought you paid so much for it back then. I hope you're loving it as much as you did. If you need anything, give me a call. That's an incline. So hang up, voicemail, goes to her. What does she do? She'll likely listen to that voicemail, yeah? What should be another follow-up to that? Handwritten card. Congratulations, and impact it. It's the follow-through that will have the greatest impact. Does that make sense? And you follow it through with a handwritten card, and if they're a really VIP client, send them a gift, okay? All right, so that's a client engagement strategy, and then of course there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you have in your process. Okay, a set program schedule for perpetual learning. So I'm obviously speaking to the converted. There's approximately just under 200 people in the room and a whole bunch live streaming. We need a sweating training so we don't bleed in battle. One of my favourite times for ourselves is when we have the program called Joel and Jared, Scripts and Dialogues with Joel and Jared. And probably Scripts and Dialogues, probably not the right terminology for it, but we just love it. So we've got 2 seasoned $2 million performers, and we jump on a Zoom, and what's the challenge? And the gold dust that comes out of it is just incredible, you know? Do it, bi-weekly, it is incredible. And I always say to all agents, before you have any critical conversations, don't wait for training to learn. Before you have a critical conversation, ring up a colleague and say, hey, I've got this deal that I've got to get over the line, but I'm just challenged at the moment. Can I just run it past you and see what you think? If you don't have that in your strategy, there's a challenge. Just run it past you. I can't tell you how many deals have been saved by just that little strategy. Where's Andy Thorpe in the room? How much did that strategy save you?
With you?
Yep.
The 3-minute conversation was a
3-minute conversation, $25,000. I didn't do anything. I was a sounding board. He was telling me what he was going to tell him. And we bounced a few ideas and so forth, but he just rehearsed it. Right? Don't let those critical conversations have the impact that they meant to by just following that little strategy. Okay? Sweating training so don't bleed in battle. Get serious about your tech stack and partners. Seriously, guys, and it's not... Can I just give up another round, a heartfelt thank you to the industry partners to this event. Seriously, I can't thank them all in the room because, guys, this was an idea, Black Salt was an idea 20th of January of this year. That was about the time I rang you, Sam, if Sam's in the room. I rang up Sam from REA, and we'd been approached to say, hey, you're doing a lot of training with Tom, you're doing a lot of training with this, can you do some training? I said, why don't we put some people together? And I also noticed with a lot of our tech, people aren't using it to its fullest. They're using 10, 20%, right? And it frustrates me. I've always looked at our third-party suppliers as our business partners. Realty Assist has changed the game for us. Changed the game. We've been with them, vendor-paid advertising. Hallelujah, the best tool. And I'm not saying it because they're industry partners, they're supported. They've made it happen, right? But it was an idea in January, and 3 months, 4 months later, we're here today from just an idea. So you can't do it without your business partners, and really get intimate with them, because the more you support them, the more they support you. But it's a partnership. Find out what's in their pipeline, what's happening, because the game is changing. The game is changing. Building the A-team. You can't shrink yourself to greatness. And I remember when we first started, there was only myself and Maria, one receptionist. Our team now is over, we just hit 600 people in our organisation. And I think to myself back then, I had no vision of building an organisation that has assistants in just about every continent around the world. But you can't shrink yourself to greatness. I encourage everyone, start small. Start with Wingman. Get an assistant, through a remote assistant. And I loved how you changed the title of virtual assistants to remote assistants. I think that's so important. And I'm thinking to myself, we've got teams all over Australia working. I'm thinking, well, they're really remote. They're not virtual assistants, they're remote assistants. So well done on that. And for those who's coming to leadership tomorrow, I'm telling you, you're in for a treat with Jonathan Bell. Can we give it up for Jonathan Bell? If anyone knows numbers, it's Jonathan Bell, 0 to 2,250 property management organically grown from scratch in 4 years. Have I got the numbers right? That deserves a round of applause, doesn't it, right? No experience in property management when you started. We'll build the parachute on the way down. You didn't have a business card. Some people make excuses, eh? Some people make excuses. Did you have a business card when you started your property management? No. Did you have a website? No website. How many properties did you get to before you thought they may be important? 80 to 100. No business card, no website. Come on, let's give it up. I mean, I get inspired. I remember catching up. Jonathan called us to catch up you at the Australian Open, and we caught up for lunch and all that, and I walked away and I said, I want to adopt this kid. Do you know what I mean? I'm old enough to adopt him, but I want to adopt this kid, the energy and the enthusiasm. And some of the young talent that's coming up on stage is so inspiring. Okay, how are we going for time? We're flying through it. Okay. What do you notice about this image? Have a really good look at it. What do you notice about this image? It's a team? Chris, what did you say, Christine? No chairs. Boom. There's no chairs. So what does that mean? So when I saw this image, and it took me forever to find it on iStock, I came across it and I looked at it, and I was looking at it, and then I put it in the presentation. I went, there's no chairs in this. And I thought of that and I went, this is what it's about. It's getting shit done, right? We don't need to be sitting down on chairs, right? It's quick meetings, it's getting on with the job, right? That's what it's about. And I can guarantee you, and I saw that and I went, the next boardroom that we create, that's going to be a boardroom without chairs. Because I think it's so important, and we talk about the stand-up huddles and stuff like that, but let's be truthful, there was chairs that were going to get comfortable. So it's so important when you look at that, and I guess the details do matter. The details do matter. Those little things, it is a little thing not having chairs in a boardroom, isn't it? But they do matter. And I encourage everyone in real estate to go all in and burn the bridges. And for myself, up front, when I got into real estate and I lost my first listing, one of my first listings, Maria had to send me home for 3 days because I was such a sook about it. I just could not believe we lost it. Do you know what I mean? Maria was a classic. Maria loved real estate, and real estate loved Maria. Can we give her a round of applause? Because we're here today. We're actually here today because of this young lady here who said at a lunch back in 2002, and you suggested, Maria, you'd be good at real estate. And that's how she got into real estate. So that was 2002 September. I like dates. So anyway, so go all in all. So what I'm referencing is, if we hadn't burned the bridge for us was a $200,000 mortgage. And for those people who know me, back then, I like to live mortgage-free, debt-free, and that was a lot of stress. We put everything on the line, plus some, to have this office. So I couldn't quit, because I reckon I would have been one of those agents that would have quit in the first 6 months because I couldn't handle the rejection. And hand on heart. So I understand it when we have some young talent that comes in, or someone brand new, and they get their first rejection. I can feel it. I still don't like people saying no to me. Who likes people saying no to you? No, we don't. But we move on with it, and the way we deal with it. We deal with it for 5 minutes, not 3 days. And Maria did send me home for 3 days to sook. So when this negative energy, just get it out. Get it out. Okay, so go all in. So to go all in, we need to make the time. Most people spend more time planning the family holiday than they do planning their business and life. Who actually put the date for their strategy day, the implementation day? Everyone's hand should have gone up. How long does it take you to pull out your calendar? It's on your phone, guys. Book in your strategy day for this. I assure you that you're going to get so much content. And the 90-10 rule is this simple. If on Monday, this coming Monday, you have not implemented anything from these 2 days, or this day, the likelihood of you implementing reduces to 10%. If you do something today, and by Monday morning, it's a 90% chance that you'll implement it. E.g., the client engagement strategy for your for your anniversaries. Put it in your calendar and get that done. Must be done. We had the privilege of knowing Phil Harris before. Who knows Phil Harris? Harris Real Estate, legend. Absolute legend. And Phil was a sales agent. We were at a leadership conference in Byron Bay. How much was the ticket, Christian? How much was the ticket? Anyway, to cut a long story short, Phil was there and he was looking at advancing his career. Did you know that Phil didn't get a listing for his first 6 months in real estate? And when I heard that, I'm thinking, wow, I thought he was a natural, good-looking lad, blah, blah, blah. But he struggled. He was lost at listing after listing. So what he decided to do was take out a whole week and just for 5 solid days perfected his listing presentation. And he practiced it, he recorded it, he reviewed it, he did everything that he needed to do. And that's when his career changed. So we must put in the planning time. Okay, let's go. Let's put some numbers up here. We've got 15 minutes to go. The law of probability and KPIs. I love the law of probability because the law of probability just works. And what the numbers reveal. So without going through an Excel spreadsheet, I'm going to reveal some numbers to you that you should be writing down. Okay. Appraisal to list ratio. Appraisal to list ratio. I've done the research over the last 20 years. This is the number, right, for most people. 3.7 appraisals and you'll end up with 1 listing. I'm not saying 3.7 listings come onto the market. I'm just saying you've gone into 3.7 doors and 1 of them you end up listing. This is what a seasoned agent, an established agent, maybe not so much those people in apprentice mode. People in apprentice mode will probably be about 8 or 9 or 10 to 1. Cameron, where's Cameron McCulloch? I'm only bringing him out because I know his numbers, not putting on the spot. Your appraisal to list ratio when you first joined us 3, 4 years, 5 years ago, what was it? It was as in 10 to 1, 12 to 1. 10 to 1. It all depends on your prospecting and so forth as well, the type of prospecting that you do, and if you do prospecting. So that's important, right? So the magic number for $1 million agent, someone that's got at least 15 to 20,000 average commission per sale, because that plays an important influence on your outcome, is 23. So the majority of $1 million agents that we work with are those people who are doing the numbers. The magic number is about 23, okay? Some do it in about 14, 15, right? Depends the marketplace and the average commission, but it's 23 is the number, right? Who knows their appraisal to list ratio? Show of hands. Yeah, so that's probably a third of the room, maybe. So it is important. Once you know this number, magic happens. And I can't wait for you to hear some stories later on about some numbers some people are doing. Okay, so the 7 out of 10. This is the success rate. So out of 10 vendors imminently coming to market, the majority are winning 7. When I say the majority, a seasoned agent is winning 7 of them. Now, this is an important number, and I'll tell you why. If you're a director in the room, this is a critical KPI that you should be monitoring your team. If they're doing less than 7 out of 10, so if 10 vendors are coming on and they're not winning 7 of them, it is a training challenge. Does that make sense? It's a listing presentation challenge. Get them into your training rooms and practice your listing presentation. If it's 7 and above, it's just the law of averages. Because we know you're not always going to win every single listing that you go to. And because there's a vendor for every agent and an agent for every vendor. Okay? This is a great one. We do this often. When buyers resell, do you know that in many marketplaces, 80% do not use the agent they bought off? Some marketplaces, 50%, 65%. When we did it for Hastings, it was about 65%. So 35% used the agent they bought off, 65% didn't when they went to resell. That's a phenomenal statistic. What does it tell you to do? Orphan data. Keep in touch with every buyer. Great buyer work. This is a prospecting strategy. And just because a buyer that you work with went and bought a property from someone else, there's an 80% chance they're not going to use the agent they bought it off. So what do? What do many agents do? They just go, I bought someone else. They're not going to sell anytime soon. I don't need to follow them up. Yeah? I thought that when I first got into real estate, until I started learning the rules of the game. And then I found this out. How quickly do some buyers resell? Do you know that 10 to 20% of all buyers that bought a home within 12 to 36 months are back on the market? So I want you to think your marketplace has 500 sales a year on average. Let's just pretend, just to keep the math simple. Over 3 years, that's 1,500 homes. If the percentage is 10 or 20%, 20% of 1,500 is 300 properties. There's a prospecting strategy, yeah? And a reason to keep in touch with everyone that you come across with. There's a reason you should know every sale that happens in your marketplace. And if you're an active agent and you've got half a dozen listings, you should be meeting most buyers, 80, 90% of all buyers. And you should just track them and put them into your superannuation fund. What is your superannuation fund? Your database. And put them on your client engagement. Don't look at buyers as, they're not going to they're waste of time, buyer work, okay. And the best way to do this exercise, jump onto realestate.com, make it easy for you, print out for the last 20, just do it once. I only want you to do it once. You don't do this every week. You can if you want to. Do it once, do the last 50. Who from our team has done that? And Mr. David Dwyer, do you want to grab a microphone? Oh, that's it. Make them up.
From memory, I think we did the research of the last 33 properties that came to the market. It was 3 of them that listed with the same agent that they had sold with.
So 10%, so they had a 90%
And
that didn't.
There was, it was a really high percentage. I think it was around 60% of them had purchased within the last 3 years.
Yeah, I remember it was about 55% when you told me. I was blown away because that's the highest I've ever heard. So it's interesting to do the exercise in your marketplace. Okay, let's really ramp it up. So some quick ones, we've got 10 minutes to go. Thank you so much, David. For every 20 to 25 homes you drive by, 1 will be selling in the next 12 months. We don't have a lead generation challenge, we have a lead follow-up challenge. Remember, when you leave the venue today, start counting all the homes you pass. Every 25, 1's going to be selling. It's just the maths. The law of probability. Brian, where's Brian in the room? Brian, if you want to give the mic, thank you. Brian, we met 2 weeks ago, was it?
Is this on? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, Manos. Yeah, I was
2 weeks ago.
to hear from you.
So we're preparing for Black Salt today and the presentation and so forth, and I'm scrolling through Instagram to get some inspiration, and I come across your page, 100 doors a day.
Yeah, 100 doors a day. So I just started it to have a little bit of accountability in that every day I went out, I'd publish my stats from that day at the end of the day, along with a picture of the street, which turns out to be Frankston and Frankston South.
I was blown away. I said, where's your marketplace? Frankston.
I think I door knocked your house probably, Manos.
Yeah.
You weren't there. So I got to 365 days and then reverse engineered everything to those statistics that you're looking at.
And they're the stats. So 28% connection rate, 3.5% appraisal to market update rate, which is 29. So you made 29 connections to get an appraisal. So that could have been a phone call, a door knock.
All door knock. It's all door knocks.
That's all door knock,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And then 7.55% listing rate. So out of every 13 appraisals that you got,
Yeah.
and there could have been 5-minute market updates.
I just want to highlight, I would pre-prepare a CMA going out and give it to the person at the front door, just do some research. In
Yeah,
that area.
why go
So-
back to the office and set up the...
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
appraisal is even too strong a word, but
Yeah.
market update is what I
Yeah.
like to use.
And you've worked out it every time you do an appraisal, market update is worth $932 for you.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Can we give him a round of applause? Just someone who knows their numbers. Now, Brian loves door knocking. The majority of agents don't, but there's strategies and there's strategies. There's no right or wrong, it's just knowing your numbers. Thank you so much, Brian. Okay, so love the one you're with. Just quickly, these are some statistics. You'll have a copy of these slides that will give you an analysis of what prospecting gets you what. So we've done, for example, letterbox drops. The return is like 1 in 2,000. So by the time you do a whole bunch of letterbox drops, do a whole bunch of appraisals, kind of works out that 1 in every 2,000 will end up being a listing for you. The most important one there, guys, is this: past sellers. If you really have a client engagement strategy and nurturing, it's 2 to 3. So for every 3 now sellers you have in your database, 2 of them, if you've got a great client engagement strategy, 2 of them will sign up with you. And I remember speaking at a conference, and we're in the green room with Marcus Giminello, and it was the top 100 agents in Melbourne. And I said, Marcus, what was the number one thing that you did in the last year that significantly changed your business? And he goes, Manos, I culled 4,000 contacts to 600 odd contacts. Quality over quantity, love the one you're with. And Alex Jordan in Queensland did the same thing. If you remember, in Queensland at ARIC, thanks Arthur, in ARIC, where Alex Jordan said that biggest thing he did, he had a database of about 15,000 and culled it back down to 1,500 or so forth. Okay, moving forward, EQ. This is the one thing that real estate agents need to understand. The numbers are important, but EQ is more important. Emotional intelligence. We need to be emotionally aware as real estate agents, and I think that's a given. What we'll be going through in the sales process over the next 12 months is decoding the sales process, and there are 7 stages to it. It's a prospect, where we earn, where consistency builds trust. We've got to give value when we're doing prospecting, getting on the shopping list when they see value to choose us. Earn trust, winning the business is so important. And of course, delivery of service is living up to the brochure, delivering on what we promise. Buyer service, going above and beyond. When do we know we're doing great buyer work, better than the competition? When they tell you you're the only agent that calls us back. And of course, sell, really have a great selling program. The digital offer, I'm not saying because they're in the room, but the digital offer system, especially from Props, make an offer is incredible. And of course, referrals. Okay, and again, we'll go through the sales campaign timeline. Too much to go through today, but if you review the book, when the speakers are up on stage, go to some points and go, oh, okay, that was a great... We're going to be talking with Gary Jones, talking about his settlement inspection, final inspection. Oh, I thought that was just the best. Anyway, I won't steal his thunder. But yeah, so we'll go through that. The art and science of lead generation, the oxymoron of sold boards, the 60-40 rule, 60% of sellers are influenced with the sold board in front of their property, 40% are not. 40% choose another agent. The most frustrating thing for real estate agents is to sell a property in a street and then directly opposite, the opposition board comes up and you didn't even get called in. It's because the law of average, the law of probabilities, 40% don't. So that tells you should be prospecting around your competitors' boards to pick up that 40%. Moving forward, piggyback theory, the leverage. I've been given the wind-up team. We've got a prospecting plan for 12 months. Who's excited about that? Yep, great. And of course, the membership program, right? Where you have your own login. All the dates are in your workbook. And I'll leave you with this, right? 2 things. Some recommended reading. Take a photo of this. I really encourage you to download the Blinkist app, which is just fantastic. We're so time poor. It summarises books in 8 minutes, and if you really like the book, then you get the big version. Psychology of Money. That one is just gold. Please really read that book. And then I'll leave you with this. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. In 12 months' time, look back on today and say, that was a sliding door moment because I implemented this, I learnt this, and I actually took action. Bridging the gap between knowing and doing. Thank you, team.